Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 151 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. My name's Chris and I'm not here this week, but I can't stay away, so I'm here to record this intro. Over to you, Richie and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, brought to you by Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is the weekly show where you round up all the Stadia and gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. On this week's show, joining me from Talking the PS is none other than Mr. Rob.
Hello.
No Chris this week, as we mentioned tomorrow on Talking the PS, because we're recording these out of order again. He's having a well-earned break and is on holiday with his lovely wife. But we've got a great show for you this week. We're talking about Sonic finally coming to Stadia, potentially. A huge THQ Nordic drop of games. New features on the way, potentially VR, and further expansion into more countries for Google Cloud. But don't forget to give the video a like and hit subscribe and ring that bell notification button so you know when all of our great shows go live, such as Talking the PS, which will be available for you tomorrow, or it's already up if you remember. Every Thursday we have a live stream. CloudQuest comes on a Friday, also early access for members. Before we get into it, Rob, though, what have you been playing?
This week, not a lot. So it's just been way too hot in my office to actually significantly put time into a game. But what I have been playing when I had the time is Hearts of Iron 4, which for people who don't know is a 4X World War II strategy game. It can be super chill if you want to, like if you're in that kind of mood for nothing too intense. Because you can
go to 4am.
You can do both. That's the crazy thing. So because it's a sim game and you each take control of a country, you can obviously countries that kind of joined the war in different stages. So if you play the US, you can do nothing for most of the game. This sounds really bad for US listeners, by the way, but you can do not a lot for most of the game, and then just kind of come in at the end and kind of
take credit.
Maybe, yeah, but so it's one of the games you can.
To be fair, the US, the war would have been very different without them. But
yeah, but it's a really good game, and if you're into kind of either the history or the kind of strategy element, I'd definitely recommend it. A Paradox title.
I should play one day.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't have enough time. Mainly Ghost of Tsushima, same as you. It's been absolutely sweltering. So I've just been slowly chipping away at that. I've completed the first third of the island. I'm now comfortably into the second chunk, because anyone who hasn't played Ghost of Tsushima before, the map's basically split into three thirds of the island. So I've pretty much done everything there is in the first section, and now I'm in the middle bit. But yeah, I'm just slowly chipping away.
What's this playthrough now? Is this the second or third playthrough for you?
It's second. I played through on PS4 when it first came out, and now playing through on PS5.
Yeah. Very good game.
But because in my office in here, it's actually where I prefer to play, which is why I use remote play, because my PS4's in here. It's been absolutely roasting, so I've been actually playing downstairs where it was a bit cooler.
For once.
Yeah. So I've actually been playing with actual PS5 graphics. But I did initially play in the black and white mode.
Oh, yeah, that's what I've been playing in completely. I love it.
It's great for that cinematic experience, but there's times when because it's only two colour, it's grayscale, there's times when the things aren't as clear as I'd like them to be, so I did switch to some of the big story moments. I have switched back. Definitely, if you haven't, play the opening hours. The opening hours in black and white are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But when the game goes a bit more open world, I wanted the colour back.
Yeah.
Still playing in Japanese though.
I can't remember the director's name now, but he will be disappointed.
Yeah, me.
In you,
That's
Richie.
why I've been avoiding saying his name. What should we get into, Rob? Would you like us to introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news?
The news. You were so nervous about that.
I did okay. Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Chris, I hope I did you proud, mate.
Yeah, he was telling me before the show. I'm not selling him under the down the river here, but he said he was nervous about it. He's like, it's fine, just take your own spin on it. Like,
I felt like going 8 Mile when Eminem is kind of doing, like, he's had his first rap and he's bombed it, but then he's back up on stage and everyone's like, oh, he's going to bomb it again, but he doesn't, and he nails it. That's what I think I've done there.
I'm not going to lie, actually.
Well done, me.
As I said, we already filmed Talking the PS before this. But it's like, I've hosted loads of shows. I've hosted live streams, Let's Plays, like CloudQuest every week. But I've never, after 151 weeks, this is the first time I'm hosting Sounds of Stadia. And earlier today was the first time I was hosting Talking the PS. So I was kind of a bit nervous going into Talking the PS. I'm all right now, actually, because I've just been in the host mode for like over an hour at this point.
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah, it's 151 weeks before I hosted the show, because it's been Chris or Tom before this.
Well, it must be close to the 2-year mark now, right?
Yeah, it will be.
Couple more episodes?
52 weeks a year, so like 5 weeks off.
Wow.
So it'll be September. We launched in September.
Celebration beers, I think.
Oh, you will definitely be doing something. Well, let's get into the news. Stadia adds a new feature in Party Stream. So, Rob, thoughts on Party Stream?
I mean, my immediate thoughts are it's a great feature, and it's definitely a quality of life kind of improvement for content creators especially. I wonder how much the general kind of user will get out of this, I have to say, in terms of like the bulk of the Stadia community. But what do you think about it as a kind of content creator yourself?
Well, first, Party Stream is basically a new way of streaming games through Google Stadia. And so when you form a party chat on Stadia, you will be able to stream the game directly to people in that chat. I think there's up to 10 people can be involved. So whether it's like 10 people streaming and no one watching, or one person streaming, 9 people watching, or whatever combination, it's a bit of a weird feature, to be honest. I kind of like it. It's kind of unique to cloud, because from what I can tell, you're getting this exact same. Say if I'm playing a game and you're watching through Party Stream, whatever my feed is, I'm interacting with, you get the exact same thing.
Yeah,
so it's not like
I think maybe it goes back to what a lot of Stadia is, where it's kind of like best in class technology and kind of quality of life feature improvements. Like Stadia's consistently led the way in that field, right? And this is another example, but maybe it's not going to be like the needle mover in terms of adoption, I think is the...
No. If I was like the director of Stadia and like we're improving our native streaming, the thing I would have focused on rather than this is customizability. Because direct streaming on every single game platform suffers from the same critical flaw, is it's homogenized. Every single one looks the same.
Yeah, which is why you turn to third-party solutions, right?
Yeah, this is why people spend thousands of pounds on PCs when they're streaming console games, so they can use programs like OBS and Streamlabs like we use, so we can customize it, so we can put our own personality into it. That's where I would further focus, because if you do that, if you have so much customizability into Stadia, that's where you're going to lead the way in terms of direct streaming. This is a cool feature.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a very powerful feature, I'd say. Well, the niche audience it applies to.
Yeah. I suspect we at Helix Cloud Games may get some use out of this, because people have seen quite a few of our streams where Chris often pulls up my game feed as well as a picture-in-picture kind of thing. The way behind the scenes information for you here, the way we do that is I stream my gameplay to Chris via Discord. Discord is notoriously kind of rubbish at handling that. Unless you start paying for premium stuff, which is where the Discord Nitro and stuff comes in, which we don't have the money for the niche use case. So you get a bit of more condensed and pixelated, and it's not as good. Well, theoretically, this could be, we could just create because the Stadia account is free to create. Chris and I could just, when we're streaming a game like that, just add another copy of one of ourselves into the party and have that person just watch the stream and then Chris could pick up a full 1080p version, potentially even 4K version if he wanted to, of my gameplay.
I mean, I guess maybe the logic internally from Google is the easier we make this for streamers and influencers, the potential there to get more streamers on board, which then kind of expands the audience a little bit, maybe. It could work, I guess, but I don't think it's going to be the needle mover.
Yeah, I can see some advantages in certain games. If say you and a bunch of friends playing the game where, say, something like a Battle Royale, I know they tend to have their own death cams and stuff in there. But let's assume, for the sake of this analogy, there isn't there. You've died early in the game, and then you could just go, I'm going to watch my mate stream.
Yeah.
But in the full thing. But again, these some niche uses, but I think it's one of them. It's a cool idea that they're putting out, and I think it's going to be like, okay, guys, here's this thing that we can do, can only be done in the cloud. Figure out how you want to use it, really.
Yeah. But again, I think that the community that will use it to its full potential is unfortunately quite small. But again, at least they're doing things.
That shouldn't be understated, because at times we have been quite negative around Stadia because Google seems to just ignore them a lot, and it's been a quiet year for Stadia. This is legitimately a new feature that's coming out for Google Stadia, not for Immersive Stream, for Google Stadia. That's worth acknowledging, to go, well, they're still clearly they're not done with Stadia. Like, they're still working on it. Like, I mean, this has benefits to Immersive Stream as well, but with Immersive Stream, with this being a party chat thing, it feels very much more of a focused, like, it feels more like you've had Stadia in mind with this, rather than here's a cool thing that we could put into Immersive Stream that developers might get their hands on. This feels more like an end user thing.
Yeah, cool. It's almost like it's part of an ecosystem of updates they're heading towards, as opposed to just some like random thing. So I think it is a net positive. Let's see what happens and kind of what comes alongside it in the next few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, there is a second part of the story, because there was a GIF that went round, a part of this news article, and some eagle-eyed people had pointed out that actually someone on one of the part of the GIFs, on the friend chat, someone's playing Sonic Races.
Yeah, this
that game is not on Stadia.
Not yet, anyway. Yeah. I always think like the sinking feeling someone must have when they realise they've like leaked something. Probably one of the biggest news stories for Stadia, at least this year, in terms of like a title coming to it. Yeah. So I also feel a bit of sympathy for the person who leaked it, but superb news. I'm a huge Sonic fan, and it can only be good for Stadia, right?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up with Sonic, so. And the thing I want to clarify before we start talking about the game itself is, I'm reading from Twitter, at Ricker666 from the XDA developers. The eagle-eyed out there have pointed out, as somehow I didn't see it, that in the GIF, one of the games being played is Sonic Racing. Coming to Stadia, #Stadia soon, perhaps. For confirmation, I didn't make the GIFs, they came from Google. Big thing there. I do not have access to Sonic Racing, so this is a journalist has seen this GIF. It's come directly from Google. I think this is legit.
Oh yeah, 100% legit. I think unintended maybe. But it's definitely legit though.
Yeah, like this. Honestly, next week Google just like today maybe and drop a blog saying Sonic Racing's coming. Like, you might as well. The cat's out the bag on this one. Yeah, like,
everyone knows already, and it's a good bit of news you can have for kind of a week.
Eagle-eyed viewers noticed, it's coming. do that kind of thing. Let's talk a bit about Sonic Racing as well, though, because this isn't Team Sonic Racers. It's clearly in the GIF it says Sonic Racing, which is a mobile game.
Yeah, that's the dampener to the story. I love car races, and it was always weird to me how Sonic was kind of a weaker one out the bunch, I'd argue.
Sonic being in a vehicle feels wrong. His whole thing is he can run fast.
Yeah, it's like he's fast, Tails can fly. The use case for cars is weak, but then I guess
it does. It levels the playing field, so the characters can be involved.
Yeah, like there's no power scaling involved there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am obviously it's a mobile game and that has its connotations and whatnot. But it just points towards the platforms you game on becoming less and less relevant to the games you play. I would say, like there starts to be a mix between kind of mobile games and like regular kind of console games and cloud games. I think it's only good for the like the industry as a whole. And let's remember, mobile games make up like a proportion of revenue for games, which we don't really appreciate because we are primarily kind of what you'd call, I guess, like serious gamers.
Yeah.
There's a whole. So yeah.
My thing with mobile gaming is there's a lot of stigmatism around mobile gaming. I'm not really fond of the business practices around mobile gaming. It's very gotcha mechanics, very loot boxy. It feels like all the stuff I don't like that's crept into mainstream AAA gaming, whatever the hell you want to call it, non-mobile gaming, feels like it's got its roots in mobile gaming. That doesn't necessarily mean all mobile games are bad, though.
No,
it means it means I have a default level of skepticism.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But I mean, this is on Apple Arcade, Sonic Racing, so it's on a premium service, which might mean the loot boxy, gotcha mechanics, the pay to win stuff might be a lot more diluted, if even there. I have not played this game, so I can't say.
Yeah. I
want to be optimistic. But I do think it is having that caveat, because what I want is on Stadia is I think every platform needs an equivalent of Mario Kart somehow. Sonic's feels like the best placed position to do that, and I hope this is the game.
Yeah, me too. As you say, there are quality kind of mobile games out there, like perhaps Raid Shadow Legends, which no, we're not sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. I'm sorry. But
maybe one day. Actually, we're not in talks of anyone sponsoring the show, but out of curiosity, let us know in the comments how you would react to us being sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Because if the
opportunity ever comes up, I'd lean towards saying no. But if you guys are cool with it, like maybe I'll just take your money.
The crazy thing with Raid Shadow Legends is I basically know the script of an ad for it anyway, because I've heard it so much. It's like Raid Shadow Legends, lots of champions. Oh, and I love going in the PvP dungeon, and now you can get 500 silver and this special champion who is better than all the other champions. That's
my favorite champion is this one because of these races. I like the content creators who clearly have never played it and don't even hide the fact that they have no idea what they're talking about.
It's like, this is a quality RPG game. Maybe, I'm not sure.
I'm yet to be convinced Raid Shadow Legends is an actual game and not just a marketing campaign.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point. Maybe we'll get sponsored by Sonic. Who knows?
Yeah. You know what? If Raid Shadow Legends comes to Stadia, I'll do a stream of it. Why not?
To be fair, we might have made too much fun of it now. We've killed the chance. So sorry about that, guys.
Yeah. I'm willing to give it its fair shot if it comes to Stadia, and the sponsor it. But let's move on to another new feature coming to Google Stadia in direct search. Well, I say coming to Stadia. It's not really coming to Stadia. This is a feature that's coming to Google. And it's pointed out, I want to give massive shout out to Bryant from the Nerf Report, who's getting picked up by everyone in the world right now, by he being the first person to notice it. So what you can do now is you can, on Google a game, and there's options to play on clouds. It's not just Stadia, but if the game's available on Stadia, Stadia is there. It's also worth pointing out at the time of recording, neither me or Rob could access this feature on Google.
No, I think we're in the wrong split test bucket, aren't we? We're in the control. Yeah,
again, going back to Bryant, he's been he's been picked up by loads of places, but the three I noticed, he's been picked up by The Verge, by IGN, reporting the story, two massive publications there. And I was pleasantly surprised this morning, actually, Rob. I was cooking my breakfast and I put Tech Linked on from Lion's Tech Tips. Just like, oh, what's the tech news been going on? Because it's like it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they drop it. So like I usually watch it the day after. And Bryant gets mentioned. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, so shout out to Bryant doing the great work there.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on this feature added to Google?
I mean, I'm really, really optimistic about this. I was like, the power Google has to kind of influence behavior is massive from their search results. I mean, my original kind of career was in search marketing, so I know kind of the power that it can kind of give to new platforms and new companies if you can make it work for you. So for me, it's the accessibility for someone. They may just be looking into the game in a really kind of loose interest way. They see a link where they can potentially stream it instantly, and more excitingly, potentially play a trial version of a game instantly. There's still a bit of kind of like hoops to go through for like creating an account on Stadia or whatever like that. But if we get to a point where Stadia is kind of a Stadia account's integrated with your regular Google account in the same way that kind of Drive and Docs are and things like that,
it largely is. I mean, if you have a Google account, it's a few clicks and you got your Stadia account up and running. So it's not a huge task.
Yeah, but if they can just take away a few of those steps, like the potential for get Stadia, especially in front of many, many more people, is massive. And it's probably it seems very small and minute as an update, but its potential is massive for user behavior.
Yeah, this is one of the things back at the original GDC when Stadia was launched that was hinted at, that you'd just be able to Google a game and then play it.
Yeah,
that's kind of, I 100% believe cloud gaming is the future.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who's serving you the games, I think cloud gaming is the future. And this, I think, is how people are going to interact with games in the future. I truly believe that. Like, they're just going to pick up the phone or sit down at the laptop, Google the game, and just hit play.
Yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of streaming music, right?
Yeah.
Think of how like transformative that experience is now, compared to 5 to 6 years, like 8 years ago. The way you consume music is so different, and I think it's finally getting there with kind of gaming. And I think, especially this news here, when it works like it's intended to, and obviously it's going to be a bit of a trial period and some testing and things like that, but it almost feels like the user experience for Google Stadia coming out of a beta, if you want. If Stadia had a proper beta, this feels like the maturation of the platform almost.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head already a bit, where this feels like a small change, but I think it's a hugely significant one and probably a bit of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked before about like the next generation after us of gamers who are just used to playing games on the phone and just wherever they want things, like they'll play like Fortnite on the phone and then go home and pick up the games console and continue. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have the same sort of emotional attachment to the physical hardware that our generation has. Because like we grew up through the console wars. Are you a Nintendo guy? Are you a Sega guy? Are you a Nintendo guy or a Sony guy? Are you a Sony guy or a Xbox guy? There's always been seemed like two major things button heads. Even if so I think the next future generations won't care as much because gaming is much more accessible now. So if you can just Google it and play it, who cares? Go for it.
Yeah, I guess it's like our parents when when it comes to consuming TV, were so used to having like a Skybox or something, and which like, if you went back to like the time when they were at the peak, it was like inconceivable that somehow that just wouldn't need to exist anymore to consume entertainment.
I mean, you know my dad. He's not exactly the most tech illiterate person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
How I got him to save a lot of money and get rid of his Virgin Media box is I give him my old Chromecast.
Yeah,
I give him one of my spare Chromecasts and showed him how to use it. It's like, oh yeah, so like he watches a lot of YouTube, very different stuff to me, but and then it's like, oh yeah, you got all these services, Netflix, Amazon, you have Amazon Prime, yeah, all the Amazon Prime, you can just go on your phone, go beep, 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 and then it's on your telly.
Yeah.
As
I'm
I'm
what's gonna
paying
happen to gaming, right?
epic amount of money for this box so I can watch TV at a very scheduled time, or I can just go beep, beep, beep on my phone as it appears on my telly.
Yeah.
So it's like that changed how we interact with it. I think like cloud gaming is that future, and this is a small but hugely significant step forward.
Yeah, like the analogs between kind of broadcast media and gaming seem to be a lot more pronounced as we're going into this kind of like streaming age of gaming.
Yeah. One last thing on this story before we move on. I want to address the elephant in the room. Through Bryant's trials, we can see like because he tried a couple of different games. He tried Control. He's tried Hellblade. A few others. He tried Fortnite. Some are coming up with Stadia. He's had options for Stadia, Luna, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and GeForce Now. What are your thoughts on like, or at least explanation on why you think Google isn't just pumping out Stadia and is like got the others out there as well?
I think because it would get sued by every competition regulator out there. So it was kind of big news in my industry when Google got discovered. They were unfairly kind of preferencing Google.com results over other kind of competitors, and they got fined into oblivion. Well, they got fined into oblivion, but it's Google, so they have more money than God.
Yeah, they have more than one oblivion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they have multiple levels of oblivion. So they got fined heavily for that, and I think it's just the same thing. Like the power that Google has on search results, they can't be seen to be using that to enforce a monopoly.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is actually, as much as I do like Linus Tech Tips in their channel, when it comes to Stadia, they're very much in the camp of slam it. And their take was kind of, oh, Google are pushing other stuff. It's like, yeah, but you know very well about anti-compete laws and stuff. Like, it was just like, one of them's like, just what you didn't need that. It felt like an unnecessary negative spin because
Google,
it's
like the obvious answer is there.
Because you can search and then Xbox result comes up.
Yeah, but it's like if you search Bing on Google, you'll get Bing.
Yeah, so it's just...
Yeah.
I think it's just stuff like that is always worth mentioning, especially when I've got a marketing expert on the show. Like, it's worth going, right, this is the reason why Google can't just push their own stuff relentlessly.
Yeah.
Moving on, Google have been, Stadia specifically, have been pushing a lot of game trials recently, but it looks like they might be trialing a new trial system tied to achievements. What are your thoughts, Rob?
It's a difficult one, isn't it, really? Because I don't want to... How can I put this? It's a hard thing to kind of get across. You're going to have to edit this bit, Richie, because I'm trying to, like...
It's fine.
Iterate it. I don't know how many people would value trials... Sorry, like achievements coming out of trials. I'm personally not...
It's not achievements coming out with trials. It's you can trial a game, but the trial ends at a certain achievement.
Oh, okay.
So let's say it's a chapter. Let's say it's a chapter-based game, and you could run a trial up to chapter 1, and then it cuts you off.
Right. Okay. Got you. Okay. We'll start that again from here.
Yeah.
So personally, from my perspective, I think it's good in terms of... It's like a gamification system, isn't it? Right. If you get a bit more kind of invested in a particular game with an achievement, you're kind of more likely to pull out the trial. I'm not a massive kind of achievement bot anyway, but I guess it's all down to kind of how you pull people into games and pull people into the platform, right? And I assume it's going to be split tested across their entire in like user base anyway. One thing Google's very good at is kind of collecting the data and tracking the right metrics to know what people appreciate. So I'm a bit reserved, but I think it's just a case of wait to see what the results of this testing comes back as, really. What about you?
Yeah, at the moment they are trialing this to certain people. They are A/B testing it on Control and Sniper Elite 4. And it's worth noting that there's still a timer as well, which is I've put a little bit of a downer on for me in this. Because I thought this was actually initially my initial read of this. I thought this is a pretty cool tool for developers to go, you know what? Because instead of coming up with an arbitrary timer, gamers approach games in different ways. But if you can just go, you know, as I mentioned, a chapter-based story, it might take someone 30 minutes to complete the first chapter. It might take another person 2 hours.
Yeah, it depends how much of a completionist you are, right?
Yeah. So I like this as it gives the developer the opportunity. It's just another toolbox, and then goes, you know what? For our game, we're just going to give you the first chapter. I was thinking about what's a good example earlier, and I think if you think of like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you start off in a small little island. When you move, it's like that prologue island. Pretty much every single open world game, they'll have like that little prologue area before the game expands properly. You could lock the game to an achievement that triggers when you leave that part of the game. So you could just play basically the tutorial island, the prologue. You could have as long as you, theoretically, if this timer didn't exist, you could have as long as you want with it. Experience the game however you want, but you're only playing a small sliver of the game.
Yeah, and in theory, it doesn't increase the. You still getting like developers are still getting the same value of it, no matter how much you interact with that little segment of the game, right? It's
the developer who's getting. This is another tool that developers can choose and go, you know what, we want you to play the entire tutorial. We really believe in this game. Get it in your hands, play the full tutorial. That'll be enough to hook you. Because let's be fair, opening hours of the game are designed to hook you in.
Yeah.
You then buy it. I like it in theory. I think it's good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I say, Google will inevitably have enough data points and KPIs to know which one to kind of implement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I kind of take the approach of like in stuff like this is the more tools, the more choice you have, the better it can be. I can't see an anti-consumer slant in this at all, to be honest. So I was like, is this good for developers?
Some games it works for, and some it's not like it has to be this way either, right? Developers can, from what I understand, developers can choose which kind of method they use, I think.
That's my understanding. I'd like to see them get rid of the timer locked to this achievement-based thing, because if like, what's the point if it's like, what's the point if you're slow, someone who plays a bit slower, and there's a 6-minute timer as well, then it cuts you off arbitrarily.
Yeah.
And once the achievement pops as well, you can't just keep going back and playing the trial over and over and over again, unless you keep making Gmail accounts.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I guess it depends on the game. For some games it'll work very well with the structure of it, and I think of as, again, no one's getting forced into this. It's just whichever way you best give a preview of your game, that option is now available to you. So yeah, good thing for me, I think.
Moving on, we got a new This Week on Stadia blog drop. Moving on, because the blog had nothing in it of note. There was a free weekend of Guild, which ends on the 15th of August, so today. And more trials. It's kind of it must be the weakest blog I've seen.
I mean, I feel bad how it's someone's job to kind of collect content and updates and write that blog. Like, I feel bad for that person because you have a losing
I feel
battle,
bad
right?
for them, but look at the news we've already covered in this story, this show. Like, all that could have been in here.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
they're doing interesting stuff. Like, why not put it in here? Like,
it's just not doing them any favors, is it really?
Yeah.
And I think it's one thing that might be interesting. I don't know if we can do this as like a little thing, but the Stadia blog has the view counts for all its entries. So like how many people have viewed it. I wonder if there's a way you can compile those and see trends. So like this week, it must be pretty kind of barren in terms of likes compared to views, right?
You know what? We've got some friends of the shows are pretty good with stats, like Jack the Slip and in lead and stuff, like track the stats. Maybe something that they could pull together historically, go through all this week on Stadia's blogs and track them. It'd be interesting to see. If you guys do that, we'll have you on for a CloudQuest and we'll discuss it.
Yeah. But yeah, like with Guilds, like don't get me wrong,
Guild's a great game, full play from the channel.
Yeah, but it was a great game. Like, what, like how long has it been
2
out
years.
now? Yeah, it was a great game when it came out 2 years ago. It still is a great game, but is a free weekend gonna do anything? I just don't know.
No, I mean, me and Chris have been talking about Guild a bit recently, saying that this is the game that needs to move on from just being a Stadia exclusive. Because it's a really good game that's getting overlooked because it's on Stadia. It's been on Stadia long enough now. If you haven't encountered Guild on Stadia, then well, go play it. It's great. But I think it could get another boost if it went to other platforms. And beyond that, it's just more free trials. It's like, who's reading these blogs for free trials?
Yeah, it's just.
I don't mind it being there, but if there was something more substantial in the blog as well.
Yeah, I think that's the headline as well. They've used that in the banner, and they've used it in, like, the headline of the act. It's not great, is it?
Yeah. And anyway, let's move on.
There's no we can't stretch that segment out any longer, can we? Really? There's nothing more to say.
It's quite it's quite a positive episode, this one, but there's that little bit in there. Moving on, Soccer Story from No More Robots is coming to Stadia.
This game, it's not something I've kind of been sucked into kind of recently, but checking it out, it looks like a really kind of cutesy kind of little, what I call a comfy game. We talked about on the PlayStation podcast, like what I refer to as a comfy game. And I pick up on. I still have an active Stadia Pro subscription, so I think it's going to be one I just pick up and have a very relaxing time with. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, assuming it's a pro game, it feels very much pro game. There is a beta that you can sign up if you head over No More Robots Twitter. It reminds me of kind of like an SNES age like JRPG plus association football. Yeah. And I'm into both of them things, so I think this could be a surprise game where, one of them I sit down and go, I actually love it.
It's like a very specific Venn diagram, isn't it? Like, the amount of people in that Venn diagram, and you're just like bang in the middle there.
I am the Venn diagram. But yeah, I think I think it looks interesting. It looks like a combination of a sports game and a JRPG. It's like, if this is a Stadia Pro, I'm playing it.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah. But it's nice that this game is in beta. You can sign up for the beta now. I probably won't because I got a lot on. It's nice to have this announced for Stadia now.
Yeah, definitely.
Not in a blog like the week before it comes out. It's now coming to PC. Reading from the Twitter, coming to PC, Game Pass, PlayStation, Switch, and Stadia. There you go.
Yeah,
good.
Completely.
Like it. I always love episodes when we got games to talk about. Here's some games coming to Stadia. Chris is on holiday. He'll be sat there probably with a nice glass of wine, listening to this because I know he's going to, and going, how have these guys take 1 week off and all the games coming? Because
I feel like I definitely looked out on the one episode I joined. It's like pretty busy week, right?
Yeah, because next we have another game, Dungeon and Gravestone is coming to Stadia. Also confirmed by the developer.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one for me because I remember when this landed on Steam, and it wasn't particularly well received because it was just painfully obvious it was a console port pulled over to Steam, and it didn't particularly work very well. But now, and the game itself is like a nice little kind of game I'd probably play on PC, and because of the way Stadia performs on the cloud now, that option's opened up to me again, where previously the only option I had was a kind of a lackluster Steam port. So yeah, it's good news for me. I'll definitely check this one out.
Yeah, on Steam at the moment, it's got a mixed reception. It's, for those who know, because we haven't actually talked about what the game is. So it's an action RPG roguelike. Steel yourself in the face of insurmountable opposition as you traverse this ever-changing world in a bid to save it from imminent desolation.
Desolation, not even destruction.
Desolation. Yeah, I went for destruction. It's like,
yeah.
It's kind of like QB style pixelated graphics. It looks pretty. It looks pretty cool. If you like your roguelikes, I think there's probably some fun to be had there.
Yeah,
it looks like Minecraft, like zoomed out into like an isometric view.
Yeah, definitely, and it's
but with like a horror-esque, gritty dungeon aesthetic going on as well.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'm going to check out. Again, because I have I guess like a true representation which I can play from a PC setup now. So yeah, that's definitely one for me.
Yeah, I think for me it's what I like to call pro fodder. It's a really good looking game that definitely I feel needs to be on Stadia Pro to get in people's hands properly.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But moving on to another game that's confirmed to come to Stadia. Oh well, it not confirmed. It's been rated by Peggy, Peggy 3, if you want to know, from Goblins with a Z Studio SAS, and that is Snowtopia.
I'm going to be real. Snowtopia was one which completely passed me by. I know next to nothing about it, but again, if it's a pro game, it's definitely one to check. I think is it a tycoon type of sim game?
It's a tycoon management game. Which you know what, I like tycoon games. Like there's something special about them. As me and Chris again, we've talked a lot before about how Stadia can lean more into the PC style gaming a bit, where that's kind of, there's a niche there in cloud gaming where Xbox currently can do it a bit, but you can't have mouse and keyboard support yet on Game Pass. Like Sony can't do it at all. These sort of games, I think, can find a new audience in the cloud through Stadia. So it's basically build your ideal ski report, keep skiers smiling with fresh pistes and fine facilities, ski, build and chill in the wintry world of Snowtopia where everyone is welcome.
Yeah, I think you raised a very good thing I'm quite passionate about there, which is the expansion of kind of strategy games, and which, let's be real, like that's the
also
PC
keyboard games.
House of keyboard games, shall we say? But primarily for me, it's kind of like strategy and sim games. There's still some fantastic titles out there, but I'd say as a genre, it's kind of suffered from being just not suitable for console gaming, and the rate that console games have grew, it doesn't.
As people
work.
went literally in our lifetime, people went from not having PCs to having a family PC to everyone having laptops, and now more people now just use tablets. So this style of game, unless you're a PC gamer, has kind of went away from like the mainstream kind of people. Like, but this is such like, these are sort of like, it reminds me of sort of things like The Sims, where they transcend the gamers. And just people who wouldn't define themselves as a gamer, who do like to play a game occasionally. These are the sort of games I think can do really well.
Yeah, so I think like the likes of Stadia, if it's done correctly and they do lean into like the PC kind of side of things, I think it could lead to like almost like a mini Renaissance when it comes to those kind of mouse and keyboard games, which I'd love to see because I'm a massive fan.
Give it direct touch as well.
Yeah,
a game like this with direct touch would be great.
Yeah, and like there's no reason it can't have it, right?
Nope. It just, the direct touch is on Stadia. It's fully implemented. It's just it's one of them features. It's down to the developers to implement. Yeah. So if T42, who are the developer, or whoever's handling the port, want direct touch, which if you're listening, you do, because that means people playing on their phones, on the tablets, can just go click beep 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 and play your game. Just get it there. Like,
yeah, right.
If you're making the effort to put it in, put the effort in. Moving on, because we still have a lot of games to talk about, because this past week, THQ Nordic had a digital showcase, and while straight off the bat there was no games formally announced for Stadia, there was no logos throughout the show, but the day of, THQ Nordic tweeted, "This one is for all the Google Stadia players out there. Save big during our THQ Nordic digital showcase sale." And then there's a link to the Stadia store where they have a sale on loads of games. Not going to cover the sale too much, but go check it out if you're interested in something. What do you think about that? Do you think there's a chance of any of this huge list of games coming to Stadia?
I mean, I really hope so. I'm in two minds about the link with the sale, really. It could be just someone in the marketing teams figured out, it's a cheap way to grab a bit of volume for our Stadia catalog. Or it could be an indication that something bigger is to come. I would love to see the Alone in the Dark title come to Stadia. Realistically, I'm very hopeful that they would, but history is also telling me that I've been disappointed with larger Stadia title releases that have been pleasantly surprised. So I guess I'm being a bit reserved. What about you?
We do have quite a lot of THQ games on, and I'm quite optimistic because someone at THQ has made the decision to link Stadia to this showcase, and there is quite a history of showcases not having the Stadia logo there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
No one knows why. Google have never acknowledged that's a thing, but it is a thing. Like, we only found out Cyberpunk months after.
I don't know if it's just like Google not pushing it to like the developers. By the way, do you remember that this is coming? Yeah, can you just put this in a little thing?
I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, Alone in the Dark you mentioned is PS5, PC, and Xbox Series. Again, I could see it come to Stadia. It's a brand new Alone in the Dark survival horror game is on the way, developed by Pieces Interactive and the writer of Amnesia. I mean, soon to mention Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and Soma, you're kind of getting the idea of what this game's going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the sort of game that I would love to watch you play, but would never want to play myself.
Oh, I love these types of games.
I can stream it if it comes to Stadia, then you can do that one.
I mean, like watching you guys play Five Nights at Freddy's was embarrassing, so maybe I'll take over as the horror streamer.
You're a horror guy then.
Okay.
Although Five Nights at Freddy's felt more like just a puzzle game, to be honest. There was a few jump scares, but
I think the bigger jump scares than that was Chris reacting to the things that were happening as opposed to the actual things happening.
Other games released. I'll talk through the entire list quite quickly, and then we'll pick a few because we're getting on for the show a bit. Tempest Rising, it was announced a new real-time strategy game utilising next-generation graphics and RPG elements, take up arms in the war between the GDF and Tempest Royal Dynasty, battling campaigns set on highly detailed planets, and control your troops while making decisions that will affect the outcome of the war. Everything I'm reading right now is from IGN, by the way. Go check out their article, because I'm basically stealing their content right now. Recreation seems like a combination of Wreckfest and Create Your Own Tracks, which I thought, like, this could be really good fun. If you're like building your own stuff, and like it looks chaotic. That was one that, as much as I'm not a big fan of racing games, I kind of do like the idea of basically like going, you know what? It's almost like Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
You get all your different bits, and like, I'm going to make this crazy creation, and then me and my friends are going to race on it. Yeah,
I guess it's the same kind of like draw like you get from GTA Online, isn't it? With like their kind of scenario creator and things like that. So that has potential to be just ridiculously fun, like Wreckfest is now.
Yeah, I don't know if this is actually a sequel to Wreckfest, but I mean, Recreation. That was my when I first heard it. It's like, oh, Recreation. Oh, we're getting a sequel to Wreckfest, but then it's got a bit more of a creation element to it. But looks like it could be an awesome game. Space for Sale. In Space for Sale, you play as a property developer turning planets into livable dream homes for would-be buyers. I don't really know what this game is, to be perfectly honest.
I think it's like the house renovation sim game.
Yeah.
I think it's that, but in space.
All right, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobe. We've got a gameplay trailer of that. We've talked about that before, so we'll just move on. Gothic remake. THQ continues its remake streak with Gothic, a reimagining of the original 2000s action RPG set in this medieval fantasy world in this new cinematic trailer. Played the Gothic games before, Rob?
I can't say I have. I'm aware that it exists, but I can't say I've invested any time into it myself. But again, it's one of those kind of, it has the same kind of horror themes that maybe I would like it if I knew it existed.
Yeah, I'm the same. This feels like a game where I think I might get lost in the mix in like PlayStation, Xbox, but with less games coming to Stadia, it might find a niche there. Because it look like a dark fantasy action RPG.
Yeah, and I think
why not?
the important thing is like a lot of these kind of, let's call them in not a disparaging way, but kind of smaller titles and kind of smaller properties. Yeah, they seem to have a more natural home on Stadia than kind of what is currently on there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's a simple thing, because Stadia has let a smaller library. Every game has a bit more view on it. Where if we're covering like, when we're covering PlayStation, a lot of games come to PlayStation, so a lot of games just don't make the run of show because there's not enough time to talk about it.
Let's be real, like Space for Sale and the Gothic remake wouldn't get the kind of the time of day compared to the massive titles on the main platforms, right? But they did, like, Stadia has a good opportunity for these kind of games on Stadia. It's just I hope they see it that way and not as a waste of time.
Yeah, I want to see gameplay on this. It's only really a cinematic trailer. But moving on, Jagged Alliance 3 has got a gameplay reveal. I must admit, I've never heard of Jagged Alliance before.
Me neither.
It looks kind of like an XCOM style game. I don't really know much more to say about that. It's like set in an African war zone, so it looks like a tactical combat RPG, similar to XCOM.
Yeah,
if you're into that style of game,
it's a game I'd probably like and maybe have some intention of playing, but in practicality, never will.
It feels like the sort of game that probably has like permadeath on your characters.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on, Outcast 2 story and gameplay trailer was revealed. The sequel to the cult classic adventure game Outcast 2 promises a vast and strange alien planet players can explore and defend in this unexpected sequel.
So I really was a fan of Outcast, like the original Outcast. I didn't play much of it, but kind of it's one of the games that sucked me in for a really intense period of time, and then I just assumed it was done and there was never going to be a kind of a follow up to it. So I'll definitely check this one out, because this is one game I never expected to have a follow up, really. So
I mean, IGN literally referred to it as an unexpected sequel, so they were caught off guard by it.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of them. You have those like titles from like a while ago, which you think of kind of died off, but not, again, pleasant surprise for me.
I think this could be the pick of the bunch, to be honest. Depending, it could be one. It could end up falling a bit flat and a bit generic, but could also be like, you know what, this is surprisingly good.
Yeah, the gameplay trailer looks kind of faithful, and it's working to kind of pique my interest. So definitely keep an eye on this one.
Nice, bright and vibrant as well.
I'm getting bored of the washed out kind of dystopia theme, especially playing Fallout a lot recently.
Yeah, Knights of Honor 2 has got a gameplay trailer. Command your armies across Europe in this new gameplay trailer for Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. It's a grand strategy.
Yeah, I'm aware of it, but I've never. Again, like, I'm very selective on my grand strategies because the learning curve is so astronomically steep to get to a point where you're half competent at the game that you have to really pick your battles. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. Again, this falls in that category of a PC game that could find a second home in Stadia.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I think at the moment it is only confirmed for PC. Yeah. Moving on, We got a new SpongeBob game coming. The Cosmic Shake gameplay trailer was revealed. Any interest in SpongeBob, Rob?
Not really. There's a guy I follow on TikTok who does a really good impression of SpongeBob, but that's as far as my interest in the character goes.
Yeah, same. I didn't even really watch it as a kid. It's one of them shows, when you get them shows, like it just didn't click with you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Continuing, I said there was a lot. We've got 2 more games. The Valiant has got a gameplay reveal, a grand strategy game set during the Crusades. 2 grand strategy games in the same thing, both with gameplay reveals.
I know, it's like the glutton for punishment, THQ.
Yeah, I mean, the different eras, different games, and there's no release dates on these, so who knows? But yeah, could be another cool game. And finally, The Way of the Hunter, which is a hunting game.
Yeah, hard pass for me on the hunting game.
Yep, same. Right, that was your roundup for THQ Nordic. That was a lot of games we covered. Yeah, sorry didn't go into too much detail on some of them, but I literally had to watch the presentation this morning because they were only released yesterday. So it only actually, because we delayed recording, it actually made the show. Otherwise, it would have been next week's. Moving on, Google Cloud has got an expansion set for Malaysia, Thailand, and New Zealand. Do you think we could see Stadia follow suit?
I'd like to hope so. When it comes to Google's kind of cloud offering, I'd like to think Stadia is just a natural part of that. It just makes sense to, right? Like the gaming segment of that. How much they publicize it and how much they kind of make a big deal of it is still to be seen. But the more kind of territories that Google Cloud is kind of set in, the more potential there is for Stadia expansion, right?
Yeah, well, that's it for me. I mean, I'm sure Google Cloud want all the cloud services wherever they can get them, because why wouldn't you? Where there's people Google want to be there. They're pushing immersive stream for games into as many different partners as possible. Stadia just naturally comes along with that, because if you're building the servers, why not have Stadia there?
Yeah, right. It's not, in terms of a rollout as a service, it's the hard work is getting the actual infrastructure there, right? Yeah. Adding the actual Stadia element of that is, I'm not discounting the work involved, but it pales in comparison to launching an entire cloud service in a different country. So yeah, good news potentially.
Yeah, I expect that. I do think we will see this come. I hope Stadia to Malaysia, Thailand, New Zealand. Great, more players. It's better for everyone. It's better for the platform. And this could be part of the long burn strategy, that even if you're getting a small percentage of players in each territory, the more territories are in, the more players.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And potentially places that there might be income levels in those territories that can't justify an entire console purchase, or it's harder to get, or it's more expensive in that country. So kind of a subscription cloud platform makes more sense as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm all for it. Hope to see it. We'll keep an eye on this and on Google Cloud for more expansions. Moving on to something actually a bit different and potentially awesome. Chrome Unboxed have reported that Stadia's technology to be used for immersive AR and VR headset experiences as well. So this is not Stadia, this is immersive stream for gaming. But could we potentially see VR come to Stadia?
That would be a big player, wouldn't it? When you considering the work that Google's already doing in that area, primarily for kind of its other products, you have to think it's one of those projects where it's kind of 2 + 2 equals potentially 100 for application. So I'd definitely like to see it, and I think it would work really well in the cloud as well, because the one thing which limits a lot of kind of VR capability is kind of processing power, kind of in what you can fit on your head, basically, or whatever.
Yeah, I think the biggest holdback on VR for me is the requirement for another expensive set of peripherals. Like, the reason I don't have a PlayStation VR is because you're basically paying for the price of a console again for what at the moment I think are lesser experiences.
I'd agree.
In terms of what they are as games, the VR games are not quite there yet. They're getting there. I think it's definitely it's a slow burn one. And Google have tried before on the VR on mobile headsets, but the thing is, if you've used VR on a mobile phone, the heat and the battery, bloody hell,
there's no comparison really, is there? It's
yeah.
I remember when Google give out all those kind of little cardboard.
Google Cardboard.
Google Cardboard, which was like a thing for a bit. Everyone in my old agency had one because Google sent them through. But it's very like the way VR is going. Like, it needs adoption to kind of elevate itself as a gaming platform. But on the catch-22 of that is that it needs to elevate itself to get a bigger audience to then kind of self-perpetuate. So Stadia kind of pushing it could be a really kind of big boon for that.
Cloud streaming could potentially, I think, be the solution where you could. There's still going to be the need for a peripheral because you've literally got to put something on your head.
Yeah.
There's no avoiding that. But if that is effectively a Chromecast and a screen, that's a lot cheaper than what the current offerings are. And
even in terms of comfort as well, if you imagine the only kind of like the reason I'm
cable free.
That's the thing. The reason I kind of not explored kind of the console, like especially PlayStation, it's like the cable element to it, and it's like a bit heavy and a bit uncomfortable because even if you go for like the HTC or the I can't remember the headset name now, but they've got all their kind of gear on the headset itself, which adds a lot of weight, and you can't really play it for long without getting like neck gets a bit strained or just gets a bit too hot. If there's a really slimmed down version powered by the cloud, that could be a big opener for more people to do it and to play it for longer, so you can have more immersive narratives in games.
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I have been talking about the potential of VR in the cloud for years at this point, where it's, I mean, if you're cloud streaming the game, as long as there's no like latency issues which could potentially be exacerbated in VR, because you effectively two streams rather than just one. But I think it drops the barrier of entry, and that is one of the holdouts in VR is, in order to get better games, because developers can make them. I have absolutely every faith that developers can make them. It's like, but it's like, if there isn't enough of an install base, you're not going to make as much profit. So you're going to have your teams working on other stuff. Yeah,
you can't justify the resource for it.
Yeah,
there's no business case for it, which is unfortunate.
But if Google just brought out like a headset that, like a better version of cardboard, where you either got a built-in screen or you put your own phone in, and then it's just run through Immersive Stream or Stadia, you could drop the price down from several hundreds of pounds to potentially even in this double digits.
Yeah, you
could make a VR headset for under £100 retail, and that is an enticing prospect, I reckon.
Yeah, even if it's not directly competing with more kind of high end headsets and things like that, it's almost creating a new market which would normally not even consider a purchase.
PSVR is nowhere near the top end in terms of VR specs, but it's probably the most popular.
Yeah.
Because of access. Others require a gaming PC. Gaming PCs are expensive.
Yeah, and especially like to power seamless VR experiences as well. Like, you need some like decent tech, and the tech that quite frankly you can't buy for a sensible price now for PCs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, moving on. The last few stories of the day. Resident Evil 9 has got some leaks and a hint at terrifying new monsters. There's not really that much to say about this, but I mean, we're getting a Resident Evil 9.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's no surprise, right?
Yeah. I mean, the leak also states, reading from Game Rant, that these new monsters can shift at will. Yeah, but I don't really have much more to say about that. Resident Evil 9, yeah, bring it.
Yep.
I enjoyed 7, I enjoyed 8.
Yeah, they've been on a good run, haven't they? I'd like to keep it going.
Have. Since they kind of went back to like redefine the series with Resident Evil 7, move back towards survival horror away from just becoming an action game, they've got a lot more credibility. I think Resident Evil's on the up.
Yeah, especially with the 4 remake coming as well.
Yeah. Moving on quickly here, get the last few in. John Scar at 4Scars Gaming has reported on Twitter that Google and Samsung are teaming up for a 16-city tour in Spain to show the features and benefits of the Galaxy ecosystem together with Android, including Stadia.
Cool. I mean, it's always good to have like Samsung and Galaxy backing your product, right?
Yeah, and he shouts out Def Alive, DTH Alive for finding this, but you know what? I think it's one of them. It's not a huge amount to say, but it's Google actually going out into the world and going, hey guys, Stadia.
Yeah, remember this thing we launched a couple of years ago? Yeah, it's still here.
Sometimes you say I like little stories like this because it's sometimes you sat there thinking, doing this show, like, are Google even aware of Stadia? Sometimes like it's good.
Yeah, it's like am I the most like active person working on Stadia related things at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in Spain and you get a chance to go to one of these showcases, let us know. We want to know what it's about. But that's the final story of the week. There's been an APK breakdown, and there's only one real notable thing. There's like new languages coming. This is actually... I almost glossed over this one. ASMX, Mexican Spanish. Yeah, Stadia's coming to Mexico, but it's getting implemented. But the one I was thinking of is it's a bit of a quality of life thing with Stadia Pro. With the Stadia Pro library literally huge, finding your new games can be a bit of a pain. They're bringing a complete claim all button to the mobile app, which is great because
it's a nice
that's the way.
UX feature, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's the way I like to claim my games through my phone. So
yeah, me
it's a
too.
small thing, but
it's a small thing, but it shows a kind of they're still caring about the details and things like that, which is what you want, really.
Yeah. But I think that's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for watching it. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when all our content goes live. Like tomorrow, you'll be able to watch Talking the PS, which you can watch right now for members. We've got a great episode of CloudQuest coming for you on Friday, and I have no idea what we're live streaming on Thursday. So if there's anything you want to see, let us know in the comments. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Robert.
Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks for having me this week. Bye-bye.